Armed with nuclear weapons and an increasingly powerful intercontinental ballistic missile program, and the ability to hold South Korea's capital Seoul hostage with its massive artillery, North Korea is probably the world's most intractable and serious problem right now, and the smartest minds in the world can't figure out what to do with it. And since we don't know the smartest minds in the world, I figured I would ask these two guys, Scott Ott and Bill Whittle, what they think we should do about North Korea. I'm Steve Green. This is Right Angle, brought to you by the members at BillWhittle.com. All right, gents, I think I've given it to you in the setup here, and certainly anybody who watches the news knows just what a bad situation it is with the North. And as we're taping this on Tuesday, President Trump, gave a very powerful speech to the United Nations that Scott is going to talk about it. But words aside, it may be the time for action. So what I would like you guys to do is we're going to do a little role playing, but I'm going to switch this up because everybody expects Bill to be the cowboy and Scott to have a little more understanding, but we're going to switch this up. So, Bill, I want you to play the part of Secretary of State. And don't be Secretary of State Rex Tillerson because he's kind of lame. I want you to be Secretary of State Bill Whittle and tell us what diplomatic approach you would take to North Korea.
Well, I'd get off the plane, I'd shake hands. I would say whatever he is, President Kim Jong Un. Obviously, we've gotten ourselves into a tight mess here, and we'd like to find a way to get out of it that'll save us both face. So I was wondering if perhaps we could show you just a small video collection that we've put together for you to let you know that we're who we are. And then I'd basically pull him into a room and I'd get out my iPad or something like that. And I'd show him about 45 minutes of our nuclear test programs during the course of the last 50, 60 years or so. And then I'd say, we got a bunch of these where they came from, and I'm going to just be quiet now, and I'm going to let you talk to the defense secretary. And I know it sounds flip, but that's my honest answer. And the reason it's my honest answer is because we've been trying diplomacy with this guy forever. I think the most effective diplomacy that we could do with Kim Jong Un right now is to say there is no more diplomacy. Okay, you are not going to get that rocket off the pad. It's not going to hit its target. And if you launch it, the Kim regime will be over, and all of the generals who've starved all their people will be finished, and there will be war crimes commissions against you for everything you've done to your people and all of the suffering that they've undergone. And if you think you can blackmail us with Seoul, well, you'll get some shots off, there's no question about that, but you'll get a few shots off, and that's all. You have no idea the precision and the capability of what we have, and we are not going to be blackmailed any longer. Your missile will be, when our intelligence services determine that this one is capable of reaching the United States, I'm not going to tell you what the defense secretary is going to do, but I am going to tell you at that point it will be out of my hands.
Bill, you know what I love most about you, my friend? Your carrot is about the same approximate size and shape as a stick.
It's a very rigid, large carrot.
Yes.
I have a baseball bat that I paint. I painted the baseball bat orange, and it's got a little green on the end where the chokehold things.
Well, you reminded me of something. Talking about showing off videos. I grew up watching all these nuclear test things. Now they're on YouTube. I can pull them up whenever I want. But the blasts and the mushroom clouds of the above ground tests we used to do in the 50s and 60s all look pretty much the same. What still has the power to move me are these below ground tests before we stop doing those, where you're looking at a video image, just a still camera shot of the Nevada desert, just sitting there like a desert does, and then thunk, a crater is carved out of it. A huge crater is carved out of it from underneath, seemingly instantly, and that still has the power to make somebody have to change their underwear in a big hurry.
There is one more thing that I would add, and I'm serious about this as well. Not only would I show him the pictures of what we're capable of, I would also show him before and after photos of Saddam Hussein, Muammar Gaddafi, Ceausescu, Mussolini, Hitler. I would show him before and afters, and I would basically say to this lunatic, if you look, I know you're in between a rock and a hard place. I know you have to look tough, or else your generals will kill you, and so on. But we will kill you more dead than your generals will. I can assure you of that, and all of your family will be held responsible for what you've done to your people. And I would make this point very loudly so that all of the guys, who take notes everywhere that the Kims go, Kim Jong Un, Kim Jong Il, there's always a group of generals with tiny little notebooks writing down every single thing that dear leader says, because every word is a nugget. And I would just say loud enough for them to hear. And the generals will be paying the same price that you will be paying in terms of war crimes and in terms of atrocities against your own people. So either back down, or this is what's going to happen. And I give you my word of honor as a gentleman and as a pilot and as a Florida Gator that I'm not lying. We're not kidding.
All right. Okay, Scott, I'm going to put you in the job as Secretary of Defense, and we're looking for a military plan, but you have to keep in mind that North Korea holds 25 million hostages, and I'm not talking about the population of the North. I'm talking about the population of Seoul, South Korea, that has literally half the country's population within range of North Korea's artillery and rocket artillery. What can you possibly threaten the North with that doesn't involve tens of thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of South Koreans getting killed?
Oh, I don't threaten anything. There are no threats. There's no conversation. There's no talk. There is no public pronouncement of any sort coming out of the Pentagon about what's to become of North Korea. Now, privately, behind the scenes, what I'm doing is gathering the best intel I can get to find out where every single gun emplacement and every potential missile site is, because that first strike is going to take them all out, as well as any location where Kim Jong-il may be hiding out. I have no doubt that he has deep underground caverns that are designed to resist the impact of the mother of all bombs. But we're going to, at the very least, leave him with no infrastructure whatsoever to run that country, no communications infrastructure, no military infrastructure. And it's going to happen in a flash. I mean, you thought shock and awe was terrific in the Iraq War. This has to happen rather rapidly because, Steve, as you point out, our friends are just a few miles south of that border, and we've got to make sure that Kim Jong-il has no ability, Kim Jong-un, for il-un, whatever, he's the un-il.
I lose track, too.
Yeah, we got to make sure
he has.
That's right. He has no ability whatsoever to mount any kind of response. And so there's no conversation, there's no threats, there's no swagger, there's no, sword play or anything like that. It is just an immediate cacophony of explosions that completely wipes out his ability to respond. Now, I would also instruct my Secretary of State, or recommend to my brother over at the State Department, Secretary Whittle, that I have just one message that you may want to convey to Kim Jong Un. That is, I know in your country that your grandfather is worshipped as a god. We are going to give you an opportunity to see God.
I love it.
I have to add one thing.
Yeah.
I have to add one thing that was just teed in by the use of your fabulous Wayland Yutani mug there. I would also show him a little clip from Aliens, and I would have that line from Hicks basically saying, "You got to nuke the site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure."
One of the all-time great lines in movie history. In fact, instead of showing him nuclear weapons tests, let's just show him clips from 80s action movies. That ought to get the point across.
Which my understanding is he's already seen all of those while he was drinking our liquor.
Yes. Now, if I were president in charge of these two guys, I would certainly take everything they said to heart. My diplomatic, or the military end of my approach wouldn't be the all-out thing Scott was suggesting, though, because I really believe in my heart that I don't want war with North Korea unless it becomes absolutely necessary. But I also believe that North Korea is China's retarded stepchild, and it's really their problem to solve. And I would want to have China put the squeeze on North Korea. The problem is getting them to do so. So the stick half would be simply to say we're going to shoot down every missile you launch, even if it's just a test, because we don't want you developing your capabilities any further, and no sane nation in the world wants that as well. And I think we would get the world community on our side on that one. The problem, the sticking point, is China. How do you get China to see North Korea as less of a nuisance for us than they are for Beijing? And I think I figured out the way to do that. We need to inform China quietly, maybe behind the scenes, maybe not if they won't move, that we are going to support South Korea in pursuing their own nuclear weapons and nuclear delivery systems. And if that doesn't get the point across, we're going to tell Japan the same thing. Because I'll tell you, China has some very bad memories of the Japanese military. And I think that if we made the serious case that we would allow and encourage Japan to arm themselves with nuclear weapons, you'd see Chinese paratroopers in Pyongyang rounding up the North Korean leadership practically overnight. At least that's my help. And if that doesn't work, I'm sicking Bill Whittle and Scott Otley's SOPs. And that's your right angle on North Korea, brought to you by the paying members of BillWhittle.com. If you like what you see, click on over. And remember, we like it when you like our videos. We love it when you share them. So click that share button, and we will see you next week.